Hey guys, welcome back to Mackenzie in the Mind. This is Mackenzie, and this is the third ever episode on this podcast. And I have an old friend here with me who I've known for quite some time, and his name is
Mike Tam.
And what do you do, Mike Tam?
I play music.
That's a very generalized answer. That could mean anything. So, like,
I'm a songwriter.
Okay.
Mainly. Before a musician, I'm a songwriter, then a
Really?
musician. Yes.
Okay, so you consider yourself. So did you write before you got into music?
Yeah, I did. I
Okay.
did.
So,
As a kid, something funny. I used to write Dragon Ball Z stories.
oh my god, that's awesome. Like fan fiction?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
My own episodes.
Were you into like anime and stuff?
Yeah.
Cool. The only anime show I watched was Inuyasha because I wanted to be my older sister and she watched Inuyasha. Okay, and Sailor Moon, and Full Metal Alchemist. So yeah, no, maybe I watched a lot too. But so you did. So what kind of music do you do? What do you play? For those who don't know.
I could consider it as rock. It's really eclectic.
Yeah.
A lot of different styles in there. A lot of different influences.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just uploaded a single to cdbaby.com, and they asked me who my influences were, and or who I sounded like. Mm-hmm. Quote unquote sound
Which
like.
are actually two completely different questions. You realize that, right? Like I can be influenced by Bo Burnham and Amy Schumer, but my comedy may not be like them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
anyways, but
yeah. So they asked me who my influences were and who I sounded like, and I had to put Maynard James Keenan, Ed Sheeran, my bad, and the Revivalist. Such a weird combo.
Okay. And so, but you would say they answer both questions. They answer
Right.
what you sound like and what influences you.
Right.
So, what was your
same
first? I love asking people this question who are artists, like musicians. What was the first CD that you ever remember, like you loving or buying, or like what was your first like jam?
Honestly,
Yeah.
Completely opposite of what I do now.
Yeah.
It was Slim Shady LP.
That's appropriate. Okay.
Yes, and then after that, it was everything Eminem.
Okay. And then my favorite album by him was Recovery. That was my favorite album by him, which was like the most mainstream shit he did. That's cool. Okay, so what made you want to go into this rock genre? Like when did you play guitar?
Yeah.
And when did you first pick up a guitar? What kind of started that?
My mom had always played guitar, and she showed me 2 chords, and that was pretty much it. And I just fell in love with it from there, and pretty much just spent a lot of time in solitude, just expressing myself with guitar and finding new songs.
Okay.
Not new songs, but new sounds. You know.
Right. So were you? So it's safe to say you were self-taught. You didn't take lessons. You just
No, never took lessons. I mean, I pretty much just watched anybody that I was influenced by. I watched them and didn't necessarily imitate. Just
learned from.
Took the idea of what they were doing and made it my own the best way I could.
So when you started playing guitar, did songwriting kind of go hand in hand, or did that come later?
Songwriting was first, actually.
Right, of course, but
I wanted to be a rapper at first.
Right. Okay. Cool.
So it was kind of like, you know, as wanting to be a rapper. If you're wanting to be a rapper, you start with lyrics. So songwriting was first, and then guitar was second. And I feel like it was just a phase that I moved into. But I mean, I had always been like in the complete opposite things simultaneously. Just I mean, I still love Eminem to this day, but I'll jam some Tool all day.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's cool. So you're very universal with it.
Yeah.
So I guess a better
it's just being a music lover.
Right.
Just
it's
music.
in your blood. Yeah. So when did singing kind of come into play? It was, so did that kind of come in hand in hand with the guitar, or did that come later?
Yeah, it did come in hand in hand, but honestly, singing started in elementary. Whenever I would sing this girl I was asking out, I would sing to her love songs over the phone.
Okay.
Fourth grade, yeah.
Were you any good?
No.
Okay.
No,
gotcha.
I think it was whenever Chris Brown was starting to become really popular.
Oh my god! So you were like trying to be like riffing and shit. Wow. Okay. Cool. That works. And
Hilarious.
so did she say yes, or?
I don't remember.
Bullshit. You remember? She was like, I'll pass for now.
I think a couple years ago, I had ran into the girl that I sang a Chris Brown song to over the phone. We were older now, and I think she had a kid at that time, and she was like, "Yeah, you remember that?" I was like, "Yeah, I remember that." She was like, "You sounded like shit."
Okay.
But you're better now.
Right, you're doing great now. Cool. So
everybody starts at the bottom sometime.
Right. That's what Drake said. Not sure what he meant by that, but he grew up middle class, Jewish.
Right. Start on a TV show.
Yeah, what, Degrassi's the bottom? Okay. I've always wanted to say that. I'm really glad I finally just had that opportunity.
Hey.
So, so what kind of, like, how old were you? You were pretty young when you started like playing shows, from what I remember you being, because I remember when I met Mike, you're only about a year older than me, and I remember being like, what, you're only a year older than me? Like, because I think I met you when I was 16, and you had like performed for years at that point.
Yeah, my first show was at Rock and Roller Skating Rink.
Oh yeah.
That was, I think I was 13 or 14.
That's crazy. You must have been good.
And at that time, I wasn't able to play guitar that well.
Okay.
I was just singing.
Oh wow! I didn't
so
know
I had
that.
a guitarist.
Oh wow! 13, like you had your own
Yeah.
you had your own guy like ready to.
Yeah.
Like no, can you play in this key? Like, can you just go off of me?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Well, we were friends, and he happened to know how to play guitar better than I did. And I happen to sing and write lyrics, so
right.
We wrote songs and recorded in a studio for the first time, actually.
Wow.
When I was 13 or 14. Chris, DJ, it used to go by DJ Chris. I think he used to do some DJing or then he was into rap for a little while. Lead vocalist for Omnisonic Theory.
Okay.
It's a local band around here.
Okay, yeah.
Check them out.
Yeah. I know my friend that was on here last.
I respect them.
She kept like name dropping everybody. I love that. Yeah, we'll put all these links in the description too.
Yeah.
So you were doing shows for a few years, and then what kind of happened after that? And from our hometown, there was multiple different music venues that were just like when one would close, another one would open, sort of thing for a while. Because I remember there was Safe Haven. I
think it was mainly because it was the same group.
Yeah, that was running it. Yeah.
And it was, it was a lot of stuff. I think I've heard of health codes, fire marshals coming in and not passing inspections and stuff like that.
It's so funny too, because like living in LA now, it's like the stuff I see certain venues get away with it because it's LA, but like out here, Louisiana has nothing better to do than to like shut down music venues, for like whatever reasons.
Seems that way.
Yeah. So, there was a period, correct me if I'm wrong, that you kind of weren't playing for a while, or did you kind of go through spurts where you would just not perform as much?
Oh yeah, there were times whenever I didn't play.
And what was that for?
Living situations. Living situation just changed. To go deeper into it, lived in a bad area surrounded just by mentally unhealthy things. A lot of fighting.
Just negativity, basically.
A lot of mental and physical negativity. A lot of manipulative people, and I couldn't really do anything about the situation. I couldn't really get out because, I mean, I had no way out. Didn't have a job at the time. So there was no income. But I've made it out now. That's the good part.
You're in a different place. Like, if you could go back to, like, 17-year-old Mike, who I knew initially, and you're how old now? 24?
23.
23. So, if you could go back then and be like, would you expect where you are now? Or did you have a different, like musically is what I'm speaking. Not so much
musically,
life.
way different. Way different. I think then it's not that I was sheltered. It's more just I didn't think about things as thoroughly. They always say life is not a circle. Life is a spiral.
Oh wow! I've never heard that. That's cool.
It is a circle, but each time you go back around the circle, you go a little bit more inwards.
You go a different way, in a way.
Not necessarily. I mean, you're still going.
You're getting smaller.
Same direction, but you go a little bit deeper into. Until you know.
I like that. So what did you have in mind musically for 23? Like if you were 17, because when I look back on where I was, and I mean you knew me at the time. Did you ever think I'd be living in LA doing stand-up comedy?
I definitely figured you'd go somewhere, for sure. I definitely figured you weren't meant for here.
That's really nice.
You're meant for bigger, better places, I think.
That's really kind. Thank you. Yeah.
It's not that this place is bad.
Yeah.
It's just that there is bigger.
Yeah. The stuff I wanted to do was.
This place is small, and that place is bigger. As in the terms of just art in general. There's more art in other places.
Right. Yeah, there's more opportunities for certain art forms.
For certain things.
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard to get a comedy night going.
Right. Yeah, no, and I've thought about that. Like, I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, I'm going to move back here and open up a comedy club when I'm, like, in my 40s, and everyone was like, you should, and I'm like, I'm kidding, it would never go well here. Like, it just wouldn't, It'd
go down.
Yeah.
But I don't really think it's the people's fault that it's that way. I feel like it's just the way things naturally happen here, because if you notice, like, not a lot of people, this place doesn't have a lot of money in it.
Well, there's people with a lot of money, but as a whole, shout out to people I know. I'm kidding. There's people who have money, but they don't want to spend it on the things that the people want, or what the kids want, whatever you want to call it. Because people want theater and art and comedy, and they want that, but there's no investment in it.
Right. I feel like there's a gap there, like
a mental bridge.
Mental, like, gap. Like, they're not processing the fact that if you want someone to keep doing this thing, you have to support it.
Right. Well, and so I shouldn't even. You're right. It's a gap. It's not a bridge. If there was a bridge, we wouldn't have an issue. Right.
It's just a missing link there. It's like they never make that connection. I mean, I've had people tell me at shows, "You're really great, and I really hope to see you perform somewhere else, and I really hope to see you make it big. Good luck. Bye."
That's it. Yeah.
That's it.
Right, and like you,
it's kind of like, I'm not asking for money,
right?
But go like the Facebook page, because people that do booking, like, I've been told, I send out emails almost every day to new venues all around Louisiana, And
that's awesome.
I give them the link to my Facebook page because that's my website right now.
Right.
Basically. And
well, that's credible.
That's my resume.
Yeah.
You know, and they look at that number. And I've been told before that it was a show in Baton Rouge. It was I think it was at some kind of, I think it was Baton Rouge or maybe it was Lafayette. I'm not sure, but it was some kind of hookah lounge. And the guy messaged me. He was like, "Hey, a friend of mine told me that you do music, and I was wanting to know if you could come down and play." It was 3 to 4 hour set. I said, "Okay, sounds cool, but I mean, I at least need gas money." And he looked at my page, and I think at that time I was at my new page that I made for my newer stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like 100 something likes, and he messaged me back, and he was like, "Based on your Facebook stats, you're not worth $50." So
you are or are not worth?
Are not. It's basically what he told me.
Wow. I had a facial reaction, guys. That's why I was quiet. Wow, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
But I understand.
People pay attention to that, you know. I mean, some businesses, you know, they like having the music, but others want bodies. They want bodies to be in their business.
Comedy clubs
money.
are the same way.
You know.
Same way.
Which, I mean, is fine. That's completely understandable, you know. I mean, I guess I'm just better for the venues that just like music. I don't know.
Right? No, yeah.
But eventually one day I want to serve both. Like one of my inspirations is the Revivalist. And I've watched an interview where they say you've got to be the band that will, or the band or musician or act of any art form, whatever you do, you got to be the one to play at these small hometown places,
dive bars if we had them. Yeah.
Right. You know, or holes
coffee
in the
shops,
walls, you know, coffee shops just out on the street corner. You know, you got to be one to play that low, you know, like humble stuff, and you've also got to be the one to be able to get up on a main stage at some big festival,
stadium,
or a stadium show. You know, you have to be both.
I'll tell you something interesting. You've known that I'm a huge Gaga fan. Like anyone that knows me, I'm a huge Gaga fan. And you know what she said? Her last album, Joanne. I don't know if you listened to it, but when she went on tour, she played only dive bars, and she said, and everyone was like having issues about that. And she said, well, here's the thing, and this is the same year. You know, this is right after she plays the Super Bowl, and she says you got to play the Super Bowl like you're playing the dive bar. And you got to play the dive bar like you're playing the Super Bowl. Yeah. And that's what made me think of that when you said that. So. Yep. And you have to have that sense of humbleness, which I've always, knowing you, and you can stop me if you want, but knowing you, I've known you personally. You've always been very humble about your talent, but I think. But you also were always really confident enough to hold your own and say, no, fuck that. I can do that better. Like, right. Like you were always, you had your own back. And I think people were people don't understand people like that. 'Cause I'm the same way. And, I don't know. I'm not trying to be like narcissistic about that, but I think you have had a very grasp on having, you know, okay, I've had to play this shithole, but at the same time, there comes a point where it's like, no, I am worth $50, and I got 100-something people to back me up on that. Right. It may be 100-something people, but that's 100-something people, you know. Right. I don't know where I was going with that, but I think you have a really good hold on what being humble means and stuff like that. But so you've been playing all these bars in Louisiana, right? And have you branched out of state or? Maybe?
No, not yet. But that is plans in the future. I plan to play all over Louisiana. I got like zones that I want to be in.
Well, you've done New Orleans, have you not?
Yeah, I've done New Orleans.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You're like, no big deal. I feel like New Orleans is pretty. Well, because the Revivalists Where did you see them?
They're from New Orleans.
Okay.
No, the Revivalists, they came to Alexandria for, I think it was River Fest.
Yeah, I think it was.
I think, yeah. And then I met them there, and then I pretty much followed them around from there and met them a few more times. And, yeah,
and so, and it's awesome that that's kind of your influence, because they're just, I'm assuming, a bunch of dudes that are
stage performance.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome.
That's all. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to have good stage performance when you're tied to a chair with an acoustic guitar.
Right. Yeah, but you still have to encapsulate people. Right.
I mean, I don't really like to pull people into serious moments. I like to be more light-hearted, even though the music doesn't come out that way. The music comes out deep and philosophical and weird, and sometimes
I've heard a few experimental things back in the day, so maybe so, but
for the most part, I like to act like I'm hanging out with the crowd.
Yeah, I like that.
So it's more of like just talking to them, just getting to know random people. Like if I see somebody wearing a cool T-shirt, I'll be like, "Hey, man, I like your shirt."
Cool. So you do. So you're not afraid of the crowd.
I used to go to Planet Fitness, and I saw a guy that I used to see in there all the time. We'd stop and shake hands, and then, "What you benching today, man?" He'd be like, 425. I'm like, "All right."
Oh my God.
Can't hang with that.
Right.
I'll stick to my 180.
Right. So now you're.
But yeah, I saw him at the show at the mall today, and I was like, "Hey, I know you from Planet Fitness," and he was so happy. He put his fist in the air and everything. He was like, "Yeah,
that's awesome."
I didn't know you play music. That's awesome." But that's a connection made, and I feel like that's the purpose of the music in general. It's not really to perform music for people. It's to connect with people. It's to create a common ground in the best way possible that pleases my artistic ear and their listeners' ear, or some even artistic ears.
Right. So where do you want to go with your music? What do you want to happen? If it were up to you and you can make anything happen, law of attraction, put it in the universe.
I really want to be successful as an independent artist.
Cool. So kind of like Chance the Rapper.
Yeah.
He's not signed to a label, and he just won like how many Grammys? Like who? Like that's. But I think there's artists like that are paving the way for people like you. Because I was sitting there thinking, while you're going home and you're emailing these people and all this stuff. You're not only the artist, you're the business manager, you're your manager, your dad. You're all kinds of things.
And before I quit working, I was learning mechanics in the heavy equipment industries. So that was, a lot of stuff. I had training to do and all that on top of all that.
Yeah. Well, it's awesome that you get to focus now more on your music.
Yes, it's a blessing. I have a story about that. This isn't going to be like preaching about God, but it is going to be talking about a higher power.
Yeah.
Or a connection with a higher power through spirituality. So it was a Saturday. I was jamming some music with my friend. We were at his house, and I stopped and I told him, I was like, I feel something's about to change. And we decided to take a break. He needed a smoke anyway. So I went, poured myself another cup of coffee, and went out on the porch, started talking about it. I went more in depth about it, and he was like, "Yeah, I understand. I get that sometimes too, and it actually happens." Like, whoa. And so then Kelsey comes out, and I tell her about it. She's like, "Okay, yeah, cool." And we just went on about it like it was a normal day. When we went out with our routine. Well, Sunday, it was stronger. Monday, got stronger. And it was just like this nervous feeling in my gut, and it was Like I had this feeling in my muscles, and the expression, you can feel it in your bones. It's kind of like what it was. And I got stronger up until Wednesday. No, Thursday morning, it went away. And this whole time, like, I had started this new thing. Every night before I went to bed, I'd say, thank you, God, for this day, and actually mean it, not just say it, but like, and I wouldn't say it exactly like that every time because I actually meant it. It was like I would name off the things that I'm thankful for. But anyway, just to add in another detail. But so Thursday morning, the feeling wasn't there, so I was like, where is it? What's going on? And then just about that time, it was time to go home from work. We got off at 4, went home. Kelsey came in the door. She said, my boss offered me a promotion. I was like, okay. Well, we talked about it and everything. It turned out that it would be best, it was smarter for me to stay home and for her to take this promotion. We would be better off financially, and I would be able to focus on music. So that's how that happened. But see, the thing was, Thursday she didn't know for sure that she was going to get the promotion. That's right. And then I think after we had talked about it, I got the feeling again that night whenever I said, thank you, God, for just presenting the opportunity for her and just for us as a family. And then Friday morning, it was gone again. And then she texted me later that day. I think I was on my lunch break, and I got a text from her, said, I got the promotion. You can put in your 2 weeks. And Saturday, I told Caleb, Hope, and his wife, and Kelsey that my life was going to transition to music, and she was going to get a better job. And that's exactly what happened a week later.
Wow. So now
they can all witness to that.
Because I know when I was just recently working a job I really didn't care for. It's a job I had to come home to. It was a job that even when I went home, I was working. And I remember that took me away from having to work on anything creatively. So I would imagine a physically labor job would take you away from...
I mean, definitely physical energy, but
yeah,
in the bigger picture, it's just, or in the general picture, a job that you don't love takes you away from the thing you love.
Yeah.
Because if you get in the routine of doing something you don't love to do every day, your life is going to become the opposite.
And you just struggle more and more. And then you don't get to focus on what you want to focus on. Yeah.
But then, the thing comes up as finances. Like a person can't just quit their job. If they are all they have, a person can't just quit their job to chase their dream, obviously, because then they'd end up on the street and end up in New Orleans, in a musician's case, playing for tips and sleeping in alcohol and puke.
Yeah, and everything else. Yeah.
So, but you can't let that discourage you. You have to find a way. You definitely have to find a way. And there's always a way. So
with music and everything, aside from that, do you so obviously I'm mental health advocate and raising awareness for suicide prevention. Did you ever struggle with any kind of mental illness?
Definitely.
Can you go into that?
I still struggle with anxiety to this day. I mean, I'm
yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking on a podcast right now.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm shaking.
Yeah.
And I'm cold. Is it cold in here?
It is cold in here. I'm sorry. It keeps it Arctic in this house. We're like currently in Louisiana.
Okay.
So
and it's not all in my head. See, that's that anxiety.
So define what anxiety is to you.
Anxiety to me is just whenever you get stuck in your own head, where the voice of your mind drowns out everything around you. And I feel like that's very overwhelming because it closes you off. It closes you off from what's actually going on around you. So like I thought it was just me. Like I was freaking out because I was cold, and it actually it gave me symptoms. Like I started having chest pains,
Right.
Because I felt like it was all in my head that it was cold.
Yeah.
But then
I'm like, no,
you said
it's
no,
cold.
it's actually cold. Something that simple can trigger an anxiety attack, and it all results, or for me, it all results from being in my own head.
Right. So anxiety is kind of the main mental illness demon, so to speak, that you suffer from. Do you have
that? And I'd call it a lingering numbness.
Okay. So not depression, but
could be depression. Quick theory. I used to watch. I'm real big into fitness, kinda.
Right. It's just a new
really
thing
big.
that you found. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I've always been into it. Just I've always just kind of like the 25% thing.
Yeah.
You know, I have weights at home. Blah blah blah. I pick them up every now and then.
Right.
But anyway, Elliot Hulse. I used to watch his Strength Camp channel, and he would not only talk about becoming stronger with weights, or improving your body composition, whatever. He would also talk about how it relates to mental health. And one of the things he said was, or one of the things he taught was, depression is just the opposite of expression. So when you think about that, it's kind of like he taught that a remedy, one of the remedies to depression, is to express. And
being creativity or whatever it might be.
Being creativity, weightlifting, whatever you do. And it's not necessarily that you need to look for that thing that makes you feel good, because obviously if you're depressed, you're kind of numb to what would make you feel good,
which is almost worse than just flat out being hysterical and miserable. Being numb and just existing, that's a consistent hard thing that is a form of depression for sure. It reminds me of Rent the Musical, and La Vie Boheme, which is like one of the biggest songs. They say the opposite of war isn't peace, it's creation. And that's what that reminded me of. I wish everybody in America would hear that, but they're not going to. But yeah, opposite of depression is expression. I like that.
Because, I mean, depression, you're tight.
Yeah.
With expression, you open up.
Yeah. And you put it into something. Yeah.
And as far as mental illness goes, I don't really believe it's all bad. I believe to a degree it's natural. I mean, it's just the human. It is the human condition. We're not asked to be born
a certain way.
That way, some of it you can find it within yourself to kind of self-medicate with, not with substances, but just with thinking things out, and just talking about it, and kind of like counseling.
Like therapy, yeah.
But I kind of got off subject there, or not subject, but went off course. no, what I was going to say was, in a way, it's a positive thing, because if I didn't have my anxiety, if I didn't have my depression, I would have never known how good it feels to be able to express, and I wouldn't have the art. I call my music art, but
that's safe to say.
I wouldn't have the art that I have today without those things, because the things that I had suffered from were what drove me to do those things. Went to my first Tool concert a while back. I think it was last year. And he said something before he played a song called Lateralis, or before they played a song called Lateralis, or Lateralis. Everybody pronounces it different. He just gave a speech about taking something negative and turning it into something beautiful.
Yeah. There's a, not to throw in another quote, but I know you liked My Chemical Romance, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day, yeah. I think that's what we used to jam to
Right.
be honest. But they had a thing that said, would you destroy something perfect to make it beautiful? And I feel like maybe this is just like a deja vu or something.
I'm thinking about that now.
I feel like we've maybe said that before, discussed that before, or something way back then in high school. We were both so troubled and teenaged, but
Right.
we're both like, I hate the world. And then would like jam to Phantom of the Opera. But I think a true story.
I remember watching it.
Yeah, well, and I was in it, and then you came to the play,
Oh, yeah,
and then
that's
you
right.
were like, you thought the play continued the next day. You were like, oh, I thought like part 2 is tomorrow. I was like, no, it's just like we just keep doing the same. Yeah, I had to explain Theater 101 to you, but you were still about it because it was just another form of self-expression.
Right. It
and
is.
that was mine. So with that, with music, and so well, first let me ask you: do you like recording better, or do you like performing live better?
I like performing live better.
Yeah, duh, me too. So does that? Well, explain why. Yeah, explain why.
Because you can change it up last minute. You have that every time you perform live. You have that chance to either make it better or just different.
Yeah.
So you have a chance to recreate, and that furthers the process of expression.
Right.
And not depression.
Right. So with performing live, do you get anxious before?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you even get nervous before, but when is it that moment that goes away, or does it not go away until you get off stage?
The moment it goes away, it's usually after about the third or fourth song.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And after that, I'm kind of loosened up a little bit. But the first 4 songs, I always have that damn voice in my head saying, "Oh, the people don't like it," you know.
Really? Well,
Nobody
yeah. I
likes
guess
it.
with music, it's a little harder not to get an immediate response. They wait till the whole song is over, and then you'll get something.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of anxiety that comes with just being an original artist.
Yeah.
In a town full of cover bands.
Yeah. Yep.
Mike Tam original. That's
Yeah.
why I tacked that on there.
Oh wow.
And it's not necessarily like me just boasting about it. It's actually, I always say it's just a symbol to represent, like, do your thing.
Yeah.
You know.
I like that.
Although simultaneously it is the fact that I'm embracing that I'm 90% original live music in a town full of cover bands that rule.
That's all I have to say about that. But yeah, but no, it's.
I mean,
true.
I know those guys and I respect them, you know. But I mean, to each their own, you know. I don't get the same fulfillment out of somebody saying that I did this cover really well.
Tell me my song I wrote about this is
now
good.
that is where where I get my fulfillment.
I've written original music, and I've never performed any of it live for multiple technical reasons, but also because mainly because of the technical reasons. I've always wanted to, but I never got the opportunity. So you saying cover artist, yeah, I'm one of those people, and I still go, yeah, because I know what it's like to create original stuff, even though it's not just music, like writing my own jokes, you know, like I watch comics steal jokes that I've heard from other comics, and then I'm just like,
you feel much more accomplished whenever you're original.
Yeah, you do.
And you know, and I feel like to a point, sometimes it can bring you more notoriety. Not to be that way, but you know, I mean, it's the name of the game.
Yeah.
You know, but sometimes it can bring you more notoriety. Like I've had people walk up to me and be like, "I've never heard anything like this before," so that automatically puts me in my own genre,
which is good.
And I'm not able to be compared, so to speak.
Avoid that. You don't want to be compared. Because, like, sure, everybody wants to go to a Mike Tam show. Or, no, better yet, everyone wants to go to a coffee shop and hear some young guy. Right. Some young guy with a guitar playing Closing Time
at the end of the night.
Yeah. or the newest Ed Sheeran song or whatever. Of course, they want to hear that. And they'll love you if they hear that. But then it's like, what I've always liked, because I was a fan of you before I was a friend. Or I was a fan of you before I was your friend. And I remember I still sometimes have your original song stuck in my head, and that says a lot because and I'm a music buff, but with your stuff, I always thought it was so awesome that you weren't a cover band. That I was like, that song's really good, and he wrote that, like,
right.
And everybody that knows me, I think, especially in LA, my friends that know me know that I have a pretty broad spectrum of music that I listen to. But with you just, I get what you mean. Like tell me the song that I wrote about something very personal and I'm singing about. That's good. Like, it's right. Like, sure, they're going to compliment you on the vocals, but it's like, because you do have a great voice, but it's like, tell me the song's good. I mean, I know what you mean. Because
that's something I put my heart and soul into. That's something I put all that time into. That cover song, I just looked it up on YouTube.
And learned it, yeah. You
know, and just regurgitated it for you.
Yeah.
What's so... to me, there's nothing special about it. But, you know, to the listener, it's cool to hear somebody... Okay, take for example, the Revivalists, last time they were here, or a couple of shows on the last tour around the time whenever Prince passed. They covered When Doves Cry.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to see them cover that.
Right.
But they were my favorite band with their original songs first. But when they covered that, it was awesome too.
Right.
So I feel like it's important to do covers.
To have that in your, like, back pocket.
Yeah, like back pocket. But not just to please people, but to I lied before. There is a little something special about it.
Yeah.
It's allowing them to hear their favorite song
in a different way.
Sang in the way that their favorite original artist can rewrite it.
Yeah.
So it's not really a one-up thing. It's just, how would this sound if Tool played it?
Right.
How would this sound if Gaga played it?
Right.
You know, like some other song you like by some other artist. And chances are you might like Gaga's version better.
Yeah.
And, you know, it could give you a better connection with Gaga.
Yeah. And then you're like, whoa, yeah. I think so for sure. Because I was a huge Idina Menzel fan, who's, you know, Wicked and Elsa and all this stuff. So putting it in terms that you might recognize, but she's a big Broadway girl, and she originated a lot of roles on Broadway. And there was an episode, she was on Glee, and she sang Poker Face by Gaga. And I was like, oh, like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, it was the craziest thing. Yeah, because I love them both so much.
And it's a way for an original artist to give more.
Uh-huh.
But I do think it's important to be 90% originals. To be more so original than you are covers.
So do you ever like, when you know you have to perform, with depression and anxiety, do you ever have, are you like almost dreading performances sometimes?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I book shows ahead of time.
Yeah, and you're like, oh yeah, I have all these shows, and then the day
and
comes.
then, well, the week comes, and then it's like 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
6 shows, and you're just like, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And so then is it sort of
like I'm done for?
Yeah, you're like, do you like not want to get out of bed? Is it that sort of thing, or is it like?
It's more of just like I just want to stay home and lock the door.
Yeah. And not talk to anyone.
I want to stay home, lock the door, and bury my face in my phone, honestly.
Yeah.
Either that, or now that I'm a family man.
Yeah.
Honestly, my little girl is part of my healing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so. I can only imagine.
So, I really hate leaving Addie and Kelsey at home. I really do. Because, last night I played Lafayette. I didn't get home till 4 a.m. I left at 7.
Wow. Ugh.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's what I have to do to ensure my payment.
Yeah.
For the night.
Right.
So, that gets really hard. Really hard. I don't like leaving them for the night.
Right. So, does your healing kind of go away once you've done a show, and it's like, or like your anxiety, like how do you feel after a show? Is it
after a show? I usually feel accomplished, but it's kind of like I feel good, but I'm just ready to get back home. Yeah. Really ready to get back home. Yeah. And
what about people coming up to you and talking to you? Are you like, let's...
That I don't really mind. It's cool because it aids in growth. You know, and I do like to connect with people when I'm not, you know, right, when I'm not freaking out.
Yeah, because so it's like good or bad show, doesn't matter. Afterwards, you're like, okay, I did my job, ready to be home, sort of thing. Right. Yeah, I kind of felt the same way with comedy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, we could call it that.
Because it takes the life out of you, like.
It does. Like I've always wanted to write a song about it, and I think one of the lyrics that I thought of for it was, "I wear my body down for you." Because sometimes whenever I play these shows back to back, and I'm driving and running on 4 hours of sleep to get up and play another show.
Right.
It takes a toll on you, sure.
Physically, mentally, emotionally.
Physically, mentally, yeah. And you know, it just describes it perfect. I wear my body down for you. You know?
Yeah. So why do you feel like there's such a stigma with mental illness or anxiety and things like that? Like, why is that? Like, we can be open about everything in the world now, it seems like it, but that, like, we'll talk about politics and religion and all these things all day, but...
Well, you're talking about why isn't that spoken of more?
In general, yeah.
More in general.
Yeah.
I can give some theories, yeah. One thing that I think is I'm trying to figure out how I can put it into words.
Why are people so afraid to just address that?
think it's just a general, just generally just being closed. Like I was saying earlier, mine happened whenever I'm stuck in my head. You know, that says a lot of the times they're stuck in their head. And I feel like the problem is like this mass epidemic of just everyone keeping it here in the, you know, in your mind, just keeping it here. I feel like people are hesitant, maybe because of judgment.
So that's interesting, because when I ask the question, I'm talking about the people that don't have mental illness that are in the society. But you're answering it as the people who have it, and I like that. That's cool, because you're saying maybe part of the stigma is because the people that are suffering from it aren't speaking up.
Because most of it stems from being stuck inside.
And being afraid.
It's a feeling of being trapped.
Yeah. And you're speaking from anxiety, and that's really interesting. Yeah. It's interesting that we were thinking two different things, obviously, but it came out that way. And that's what's important, is that the anxiety, like, maybe half of the reason is the people who haven't are afraid of speaking up, obviously, because it goes without saying, it's anxiety.
It's anxiety. You're not going to get up there and talk about it. You're not going to do anything about it because it has you trapped. Yeah.
And then there's medication, and there's all kinds of that can make things worse, and then
can make things worse.
Yeah. So that's nice. We kind of reached an interesting topic, something to think about, that's for sure.
But as far as your question, like
the rest of the world.
Right, the rest of the freaking world.
Yeah, everybody else who isn't this, you know.
Well, not. We're all one here.
Yeah.
You can't exclude. You know, everybody suffers to a degree, and some have it worse than others due to circumstances, the way they were born, chemical makeup, all that.
Yeah, for sure.
All that plays a role. Genetics. But as far as the people who don't have it as bad, to where it's barely noticeable, like they can just wake up and go out into the world with a smile on their face and just tackle everything. I feel like if anxiety comes from a place of being stuck inside, I feel like those people aren't stuck inside. They're the opposite. They're not stuck inside. So it's not that they don't understand. It's just that they don't know. They just don't know what that's like.
Yeah,
to be stuck inside.
They don't live that life.
They don't live
right,
that.
Like I'm a girl and you're a boy, so I don't know what it's like to be a boy.
Right.
Doesn't mean I don't understand that you're a boy. I do, but I don't know what that feels like.
So it's basically just as simple as they're not able to sympathize or empathize with something that they don't understand completely.
Yeah.
And it's not to call anybody out and call
no, not at all.
people like insensitive or anything like that. It's just literally, it's just I don't know what it feels like to be in China because I've never been to China.
Right.
So I can't speak up about being in China.
So the ones that need to speak up are the ones that have been to China, so to speak.
Right. I mean, that's a good comparison.
It's a very good way to break it down.
Yeah,
elementary.
break it down.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm a white guy. You know, I've had people be racist to me because I'm white. I can only talk about what it's like to be white and have people be racist against me for being white.
Right.
It's,
Right.
I'm not saying that I deal with racism on a daily basis.
Right.
Like others.
Right.
Which I totally empathize with.
And you empathize with it.
Yes. I empathize with it. But the reason, I feel like the reason that I have that ability is because I use anxiety to a positive benefit. And
That's
like
your
I was
weakness.
saying earlier in the beginning,
right.
you use that to understand life a little better. You use that to understand people a little better.
The people that see, they say people that are the smartest are some of the most unhappy people. They say that because they realize how...
They realize that just the fact that our society is completely controlled by the human psyche and not nature.
Yeah. No, I've been hearing this for years. Yeah, no, I know.
I mean, if you truly realize that to the full degree, it'll send you in a panic attack quick.
Yeah. And so you get panic attacks?
Yeah.
And what happens? Is it more physical or is it just inside?
It's mainly mental. It's the mind will start racing, and then after that, like I'll start having these really irrational fears. I have cancer.
Right.
Like I'm really aware of my mouth.
Yeah.
I'm really aware of my teeth right now. What's wrong with my teeth?
Right. Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Well, and so your family is a big part of your therapy and what keeps you sane, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's a nice way to not, just keep existing. And a lot of people, that's really important to have that, other person, or other people, with having a family.
Yeah. It's nice.
Yeah, it's nice to come home to something, and I had to put that in a realization recently. I met a guy who suffers. There she is in the background. She's chasing a cat. I would too if I weren't on this. But I met a guy who was in his 50s, and I worked with him on a project recently, and so I have bipolar, and I was recently officially diagnosed, and everything in my life was going perfect. I had everything I want. I mean, people from the outside think that I grew up in an upper middle class. I went to Catholic school the majority of my life. I had everything I wanted. Everybody knows I drove a blue Mustang in high school. Everybody sees that, but then even then,
it's superficial.
It's superficial and it's materialistic. And behind, here's the thing: behind every white picket fence, there's a fucking story. And with, here, what I'm getting to is when I was in LA, it was the second year of being in LA. I finally meet the love of my life. I have everything I want. I have, everything. And I live in LA, and all my friends and everybody that knows me back home is like, oh, Mackenzie lives in Hollywood. She's doing it big. She's doing comedy shows. Like, just me moving to LA is a big deal. And then suddenly I was doing comedy shows at the Comedy Store and was coming home and slitting my wrists and hiding it from my boyfriend and abusing drugs and trying to die because, and I would go do a show at the Comedy Store or the Ice House or wherever, these A-list comedy clubs, and kill it and have people love me, and I'd go home and I'd lock myself in the bathroom and just take an extensively long bath and then put a long sleeve shirt on afterwards and get in bed and act like I didn't do what I just did. And it wasn't until, months down the road, I got tattoos on my arm to make me stop doing it.
Tattoo.
Yeah. So I've got a bunch now on that arm, and one's a 21 Pilots symbol, which symbolizes purpose. One's entertain my faith, 21 Pilots lyric, and then I have a measure with cut time, B note, whole note, belting, and B note, be yourself, and then
awesome.
once the whole note comes to an end, it repeats. So it's life. Once I start thinking I'm coming to an end, repeat, go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
And
I like that.
Me and my boyfriend came up with the idea the night before I got it. It's not the best tattoo I've ever gotten. I got it here, but you know, everything in my life was so perfect, and little did everybody know, I'm trying to kill myself, and it was because I was having a very bad episode, and I'm bipolar, and I've had depression my whole life, but something clicked in my brain at 22 and said, time to go. Time to not live anymore. And I had everything I wanted, and it's not like I was in a dire financial situation or things like that. I just didn't want to exist anymore. And so I'm lucky that I had someone that was on the other side of that bathroom door saying, I love you, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me, like this world would be nothing without you, don't do what you're doing.
Right.
Whose family intervened and said, you need to be in a hospital, and did that, and thus forth was the rest of the story. But it wasn't until, you know, I really realized working with this other guy, this is where this older man comes into play. I was working with this guy on this project recently who, he had known that I was really open about mental illness, and he was like telling me how he has to take so much Xanax a day and all this other stuff, and he has such bad anxiety, social anxiety, depression. And Thomas and I both worked with him, and every day on this project this guy would open up to me and we would talk for an hour. I'm not going to give details on what we worked on because of multiple reasons, but
right.
But I realized, oh my God, how lucky am I that I get to go home to someone and this guy doesn't. And he goes home, and he goes home to himself, and he has to get up every single day and do this again.
And that leads to being more trapped.
I know, and me and Thomas made it such a point to him that we were like, you are so loved, and it sounds so stupid and cliche when we're like, don't kill yourself, you can only say that so much, you know what I mean?
Right.
And he's not suicidal, that's not the issue, but we had realized outside of his mental illness that we were like, dude, you're the best at your job. I'll tell you later when we're not on recording what the guy did, but he was so good at his job, and he went to NYU, and he was such a successful guy, and we were just like, dude, you're the bomb. Like, never stop doing what you're doing. If you don't realize that, at least listen to two 20-something-year-old kids that think the world of you. Because then it ate me alive when I went home, because I was like, some people don't have someone to go home to.
Right.
And with you, you know, you may do shows that are bomb, so to speak. Not to other people, but to you. You're like, oh, God, that was not my best show. But, like,
right.
Thank God, you know, God, higher being, whatever it may be, that you get to go home to someone that loves you, being two people. And that keeps you alive. So I think a big part of therapy and staying alive and whatever, and by staying alive, I don't mean not killing yourself. I mean,
it's a mixture
doing what you have to do.
Right. It's a mixture of having all things.
Yeah. Because you also gotta have yourself.
I mean, you'll never have everything in place.
Right.
Constantly. You'll never have that, but I think an adaptation has to happen.
Yeah.
And
it's a good word for it.
I mean, it sucks that it's that way, but it just is that way. Mm-hmm. That's how we grow. We grow as people, as individuals, through pain. Mm-hmm. And that's why I feel like, and it's no offense to people that suffer more from mental illness, but I feel like if they could just find a way to tap into that and use it for good. It's so intense.
I agree with you.
That it could be used for just so many good things. Mm-hmm. And I feel like them being beat down by it's kind of like they're not taking their place in the world. Like, and basically what I'm not saying, like, I'm not blaming them.
Yeah.
But I'm just urging to take that and turn it into something.
Right.
Do something good with it.
Right, because even photos need negatives to develop.
Right. That
Yeah.
that whole concept. And but then again, if anxiety has you crippled, if depression has you crippled, if your moods are all over the place,
Right.
and that has you crippled,
Right.
it's kind of hard to see that.
Yeah.
And I have an understanding of that, and I'm very thankful that I was able to, not to talk about myself, but
that's why you're on the podcast. But,
well, yeah.
But yeah.
But I just urge everyone to dig a little deeper, and find out who you really are, what you really want to do. You know, the cliche stuff, but most importantly, that same intensity that drags you down can be the same intensity that brings you up. I mean, it's like complete opposites, and just hearing it for the first time, it would make no sense.
Like a paradox, but
Yes, it is, but it's real. It's real. It's lit, yo.
yeah, for sure. It's so lit.
But yeah, just
So grabbing a guitar and singing helps you, and everybody else needs to, whether it's a paintbrush or
whether it's a paintbrush, whether it's a microphone,
yeah,
in a podcast, whether it's whatever, use something where you can put that energy that comes from that intensity into it, channel it, figure out how to channel it.
for sure. I think that's great advice. Normally I have to ask that at the end. What would you say? But you already did. So you want to play some music for us? Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us what you're going to be playing?
Very appropriate. I'll play a song called "The Human Condition."
Okay, cool. Sounds good. So this is Mike singing "The Human
Condition."
Because I have short-term memory loss, I guess. All right, cool.
Storm in me. I think they call it the human condition. I've been staying in fancy hotels, 2 different cities in 1 week. And in all this time I figured out that the fast life is for me, yeah. Because when I don't suffer from the human condition, the human condition, I went on down a handmade ring. The local artist painted and shaped for me, so I could have a souvenir to remember that I really did live that day. And it wasn't all just a dream. In my head I could paint the scene. Daughter was good and her mother my queen. She was feeling good. She was singing one of my songs. Damn, that felt good. that I didn't suffer from the human condition. Yeah, yeah, the human condition. Yeah, yeah, the human condition. Yeah, the human condition. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I lay my head down at night, yeah. And I'm thankful for all the things I got, yeah. And all the good people by my side, by my side. Yeah, yeah, by my side. Yeah, by my side. Yeah, by my side. And I no longer suffer from the human condition.